Yes, yes. Welcome in. It's Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you on the program. We got 1 hour, Jackson. Let's maximize it. I want this one today.
Yeah, why not?
I don't give a damn if you do or not. I do.
I want it.
Oh, well, then if we both do, then let's do this. YouTube 101 ESPN channel, get in there. I see Dan Jansen, your guy's in there talking already.
That guy.
What's wrong with Dan Jansen? He loves America. He loves freedom.
You know, it's tough because he's a staunch supporter of the program, and I appreciate that. So it's tough for me to cast too many aspersions.
You can love something and still be critical of it because you want to see it get better.
That's
and
the
therefore,
truth.
I'm a Dan Jansen champion.
Yeah, I'll champion him.
Oh,
but I think
okay. Well, you just said that guy under your breath.
Room for improvement. Room for improvement. Okay. But that's okay. I have room for improvement.
And then the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646. Sad to hear Jack B won't be here next Friday as he will be vacationing in Chicago and staying at the W Hotel. That's from MD 2020. What he left out of that is that Jackson's parents are paying for the $379 room rate that Jackson will be staying in, as we discovered earlier on TMA. Michael Wellington and Joey Vitale joining the regular crew while Doug Vaughn vacationing at Jackson's home in the Hamptons. So, Jackson, anything you'd like to address? You will not be here next Friday, correct?
That is true.
You will be staying at the W Hotel in Chicago. Very swanky, chic. I could never possibly even imagine what that place is like.
That is also accurate.
And when we looked up the room rate, it was $370 a night. Is that correct?
The room
It's a
rate.
yes or no question. It's a yes or no question. Is the room rate that we looked up on TMA $375
Yes,
a night?
but that doesn't mean, but I'm not paying
That's
that.
No further questions.
I'm not paying. Honestly, I'm paying nothing. But
who is paying for your room?
My parents are.
That's it. No further questions.
But my parents will also be at the wedding. I'm going to a wedding in Chicago next weekend for a very close family friend, and so my parents will be there, and so they got me my own room. Thank you to them. But it was a kind of a hotel discount because of the wedding, so it's not going to be $370 a night for us. But I am going to stay at the W, and I will be out next week. So, just for Friday next week.
So who's working with me next Friday?
I think it's Good Morning Grant, if I'm not mistaken.
Good Morning Grant.
Who is,
Good Morning Grant gets to put together the Little Piddles Friday six-shooter. That's an honor for Good Morning Grant.
Better on the air,
I
better
know he's produced Islanders games and Blues games, but he's never produced a Little Piddles Friday six-shooter.
It's like a Michael McGreevy spot start. You're actually going to get better than who you would have had if you had your normal guy out there.
Now. You'll be at the W, free rolling.
That's right.
The W's overrated.
I've never stayed there, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine.
Downtown Chicago, I've done less than like suburban Chicago. I've been to suburban Chicago a lot, not as much downtown. So I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
Jackson's parents didn't just buy him a house for his weekend visit. That's from the Water Boy.
Good one. No, it did not.
Balloon Party rocks my world. That's from the 636. Must be another female listener. Let's see. Just seen your wedding photos, by the way. Congratulations. You have to be one of the most beautiful human beings I've ever seen. Wow, Jackson. That picture that you showed us for your wedding appearance has somehow made its way to whoever this person is. See, on TMA, about 80 to 90% of the people who text in, their names are saved.
Right.
And so I oftentimes will have an idea of whether or not the person's male or female.
Sure.
In this case, I don't know if this is a male or female, but either way, they like Jackson's wearing, it's an Indian wedding.
It's an Indian wedding, yep.
And so you're wearing Indian traditional garb for the wedding.
For the night before, yeah.
I guess this was posted on social media, and somebody thinks you're one of the most beautiful human beings they've ever seen.
Not to my knowledge, it's been on social media, but I do appreciate the compliment nonetheless. You know, I do feel like I'm one of the most beautiful people out there. I have boyish good looks. And I think people recognize that now. It's good.
Jackson going to Chicago. Stand up. That's from the 618.
Yeah,
Jackson is extremely handsome. That's from the 314.
Thank you. That's right there. Can we make that the title of the show?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, Jackson is extremely handsome.
I've been receiving accolades for my appearance for decades.
That's right. So it's time.
It's time for me to pass the torch.
Right, yeah.
And in a show where we had me, you, Joey Vitale, and Michael Wellington, it was like, the female demographic it soared off the charts. It was like we had Oprah as a guest this morning.
That's true. Question for you, Tim.
Sure, I'm taking him.
So in these traditional Indian clothes that I'll be wearing the night before, I like the look. It's kind of like it's very comfortable. However, the pants don't have pockets. Do you just bring nothing? Like, do you leave the phone, wallet, keys all at home, or do
I have no experience wearing
like a
garb.
fanny pack?
I'm used to turning red and enjoying libations. That's essentially what I can tell you about my heritage as weddings.
I get that. I have fanny pack. I don't know. I just leave the stuff at home. I don't know how
popular the fanny pack is in New Delhi or Calcutta, candidly.
Yeah, I'm not positive either.
Speak to Dublin, County Cork.
Do they wear fanny packs? And
I'd be very disappointed with my people if that were the case.
It's a good look. I like it.
Let's see. This just in. Tim and Jackson win gold in the 10 a.m. radio competition. That's from John Gray. Wow. It's never good when the compliments come in because there's always going to be an overcorrection with the criticism. So I just know. I was
thinking about it yesterday. Like with the Olympics, I'm positive I could perform do terribly at every single sport. Like I don't think I would be.
What about golf? We have golf on here in the studio right now. Looks like somebody's playing a cut off the tee. I can't tell you who, but I'll try to update you. Ooh, he went into the bunker.
Yeah, I'd be DFL there, and I don't know anywhere else where I'd be.
Victor Hovland. His father worked at when it was Boeing. Or when it was McDonnell Douglas, I should say.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in St. Louis.
Oh, very cool.
He's representing.
Go to Oklahoma State? No, that was Ricky.
He did.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah. Fun facts for no one. That's all. I just have fun facts. Jackson, what is our first question on today's Little Piddles Thursday Throwdown?
Because of the topic that I knew would come up, I called it 4 Weddings and the Piddles.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. Never seen that picture. Andy McDowell, am I correct?
Yeah. Whose daughter is?
Darnell Coles, former Cardinal.
Margaret
Qualley. Margaret Qualley.
Yeah.
From
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes.
The Nice Guys, a really good movie with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. Highly recommend. Either way, let me get
Who'd you
into
rather go out with, Russell Crowe or Ryan Gosling?
Gosling all day. Then there's
passionate answer. Love to see it.
There's nobody that's number one. Gosling.
As far as a guy you'd like to go out with.
Yeah, he's number one.
That's great to hear.
I don't know if there's a cooler guy out there.
Really?
Ryan Gosling's the coolest. In the semi-long term, and so I say semi-long term, I say about a decade. Do you think it will be the Cardinals adjusting to what fans are clamoring for from a roster construction standpoint, or do you think it will be fans adapting to the Cardinals' mindset? How long does it take for that to set in, and do you think the front office straddles appeasing the fans and running their own offense simultaneously?
It's like, here's the next 10 hours.
Yeah, right after the Gosling take, too.
Yeah, I know. Right after the Gosling take and the fanny pack take. I think what that question was designed to do is to distract from the fact that your parents are paying for your stay at the chic 5-star W Hotel overlooking Lake Michigan in Chicago next week.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell folks.
Well,
I gotta stay somewhere. I
don't care about the Cardinals competing for a playoff spot, and you abandoned the show. So
I'm going to be boots on the ground in Chicago just the week after they play, just to see what the people are saying on the north side.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's go question by question because there's a lot of meat on the bone.
For sure. So, the first one I think is probably an easy answer, but do you think it'll be the Cardinals adjusting to what fans are clamoring for from
this
a roster?
Is it 5 years or 10 years?
I'd say 10. Let's use 10, okay. Round number. Adjusting to what fans are clamoring for from a roster construction standpoint, or do you think it'll be fans adapting to the Cardinals' mindset?
Well, I have to say this, and I know we don't know the answer to it, but I feel like it's important to at least put on the table. Will the DeWitt family own the team? I think it's fair to say at that point, Bill DeWitt Jr. will not be the chairman any longer. Sure. If we're talking 2034, I think he would be the first one to tell you that. He might not be the chairman in 2 years, for that matter. Will Bill DeWitt III be operating the team? Will the ownership group sell to a new ownership group? And I think that it kind of would help you answer the question. If it's still the DeWitt family, then I would imagine the fans will be adopting or have already adopted to the style of management that this ownership group has shown.
Right.
If it's a new ownership group, then you never know. You never know on a variety of fronts. Their commitment to St. Louis and their commitment to winning. My guess would be the DeWitt family would still own the majority of the club. That would be my guess. Mm-hmm. I would be surprised otherwise. But who knows what comes over the next 10 years. So that is how I view it. How do you view it?
I think that fans subconsciously kind of just adapt to their team's mindset in a way.
That has absolutely happened already. And I present, for example, like the Matthew Tkachuk conversation.
Right. That's a great example.
When It's like the Blues, need to go out and get Matthew Tkachuk, and we're sitting there and I'm looking at the numbers and I'm like, well, how are they going to? It's not how are they going to afford it. It's how are they going to fit it on the rosters with the salary cap. Meanwhile, 2 summers ago when Juan Soto was out there, it's like, oh, the Cardinals can't do that. I'm going, how does the team with actual more flush cash get the excuse that, well, the Cardinals can't do that? And the team that I don't think has as much flush, furthermore, has a cap to negotiate. They are expected to.
So wild.
If you're the Cardinals, it's a great spot to be in.
Yeah.
Somehow the bar is low.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is, and it's such an interesting, but the salary cap thing is so interesting too with it, because like if you're the Cardinals and the Juan Soto thing, but you're right, like that's an example of fans kind of subconsciously adapting to the mindset, either if they know it or they do not. How long does it take for something like that kind of subconscious adaptation to set in? And do you think the front office for the Cardinals straddles appeasing the fans and running their own offense simultaneously?
I don't think they really worry about appeasing the fans, honestly. Yeah. I think maybe it's something that they're aware of, but I think, if anything, so many of the moves have been what you would do if you're trying to piss off a fan base over the last couple of years.
For sure.
So I just don't think that's where they are. I also think that they still, in a sense, are living on the highs of some glory days that are, at this point, pretty far removed.
Yeah.
And so therefore, well, this has worked, so therefore it will work. We've just had some unfortunate episodes that have caused it to not work.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, to their credit, going into last year, they said, or going into this year, I should say, they said we're going to have to switch things up. But I don't really know how much was switched up. In the short term, I think, with regard to what we have seen over the last couple of days, and I thought the Adam Wainwright story on the opening drive, which I think it's worth playing again. I'm sure some people have heard it, some people have not. That's why we would play it again. Can speak to the injection of Tommy Pham and his energy into the clubhouse. Candidly, I may have or was wrong. Either may have been wrong or was wrong. Take your pick on. Just my idea. I'm like, okay, Tommy Pham, if he starts going in there after being there for a day or two and yelling at Paul Goldschmidt or Nolan Arenado, they're going to just go, what in the hell is this?
Right.
But then Adam Wainwright tells his story, and Pham had only been up with the big league club for a couple of months. I mean, it's insane. And clearly Wainwright and Molina thought it was crazy, but it kind of shows where he is. And that was nearly a decade ago, much less now at 36 years old. And, most likely not playing Major League Baseball a couple of years from now. Here is Adam Wainwright on the opening drive. Hell of an anecdote.
And Tommy Pham, at the end of the game at Citi Field, he stands up in front of everybody. Everybody's kind of sitting on their stool in front of their locker, sulking, trying to figure out what in the world's happening. Tommy Pham goes around the room pointing at people with 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months in the big leagues, pointing at you. You don't work hard enough. You show up too late. You play too many video games. You aren't playing hard enough on the field. You got all this talent. I mean, and I'm talking about pointing at people. A couple of young guys look up at me like, are you going to stop this guy? And I look over at Yachty, and I thought, you know what? He's right. And I look over at Yachty, and everything that he was saying about every single person was right. And now it may not have came from the vessel that we thought it was, or maybe even should have came from. But I looked over at Yachty. I shrugged. Yachty looked at me and shrugged. And I looked back at the 2 young guys that were looking at me like begging me to say something. And I went, he's right. And everybody kind of like with their eyes wide open, like looked over at him. And he went, I'm telling you, he went 25 for 25 around the room, talking about things that everybody could do better. And every time he brought it back to himself too. And he would say, you don't blah, 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 like I do when I get here early. And a lot of times, that'll make you roll your eyes, but he was backing that up. Listen, this dude is a winner. And that's just the plain and simple of it. He's a winner, and he is going to do what it takes to get himself ready to play. And if you don't play to that standard, he's going to let you know about it. And guys that really know how to win, we love it. We love it. And the guys that can't take it, that are soft, they need to go on and get because the Tommy Pham ain't going to put up with it. And I love that about him.
That's Adam Wainwright on the opening drive. What an anecdote. And Wainwright the guy, as far as shooting straight, telling stories,
right,
just, I mean, for real, one of the best I have encountered in my 25 years working in St. Louis in television and radio, and so eye-opening. Not just that took place, but that he was only a couple months into his big league tenure. So with Joey Vitale on TMA this morning, I said, how did that happen when you were at the Penguins? I think Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina would acknowledge this. While great Cardinals, not at the level of Sidney Crosby,
for sure, and
the level he's at as far as the best in the NHL at that particular time. And Joey told a couple of stories about veterans. Veterans, though, getting Evgeny Malkin in check at the end of the game. He said he just was kind of a selfish player, and he was doing a couple of things at the end of a game in Montreal that were putting us in a weird spot because he just needed to chip the puck in, and he wouldn't do it. And then finally, one of their veterans stood up and screamed at him, and the whole bench was like, "That was great."
Right.
But that's a veteran. Here's a guy 2 months in 2015. To his career, and he's standing up, and also on that 2015 team would have been John Lackey.
That's what I was thinking when we originally played the clip on TMA. I was like, was Lackey on that team?
Like, Wainwright's one thing, and I realize John Lackey, I may have a different appreciation, so to speak, for what that was. But wow.
Yeah.
I mean, John Lackey had to be like looking, it's probably like just like messing around in his locker, and then all of a sudden Tommy Pham, he's like, who is this guy? And he's screaming at each one of us. If he's doing that at, I guess, 25 years old, or around there, 26 years old, maybe this injection of personality is a great thing. And maybe I understated it. I don't know. I mean, at this point, it's 2 games in. But yesterday, not only did Pham have 3 hits, but Goldschmidt and Arenado had 2 hits apiece.
Yeah.
And we'll get a chance to see because they go on the road and start a 4-game series with the Cubs this evening. So I can't wait to see if it does carry over, if Pham keeps it going, and if this somehow has lit a fire under what has been really for a while a pretty blasé Cardinal energy.
Yeah, well, contained,
yeah,
kind of contained. But I think that they're like the inklings of it are there. Like, obviously, Lars Nootbaar is a big personality. Wilson Contreras has a lot of fire. If you have someone that kind of like that anchor, like Tommy Pham, it can really make a difference and bring out the best out of a lot of people. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, was AJ Przinsky maybe on that team as well in 2015?
He was in 2014. I don't believe he was in 2015.
So I was going to say, if you're going Lackey, then Przinsky, that's the gauntlet right there. But, I mean, if you're one of the players getting yelled at, like, you can look at it one of 2 ways. What is this rookie doing? I'm not even listening to him. He's way out of line. Or you can be like, maybe this guy who's got pretty fresh eyes on the clubhouse might be right about what's going on, and maybe I need to swallow my pride a little bit and take it in stride. Obviously, when you're making a lot of money playing baseball, it can be tough to do the latter, but I think in the case when Tommy Pham's saying it, you listen.
Your thoughts on the topic, 314-399-9646, Air Comfort Service text line, or you are welcome to get involved in the YouTube chat as well. I see the people are active and talking it over in the YouTube chat, and you are welcome to participate in the conversation and to participate in the Air Comfort Service text lines. 1022 in St. Louis. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers. This is Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN. 101 ESPN, Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you on the program. Jackson is asking the
4 weddings and the piddles.
4 weddings and a piddles series of questions today. Jackson, what's your next question?
My next question, Tim, is the Athletic ranked NHL teams in the Stanley Cup, or I'm sorry, in the salary cap era. Can you guess where the Blues ended up?
This is a terrible question.
Well, I
have a moral obligation to the audience.
It's just the start of the question.
On Thursday, August 1st, that I'm being asked about where the Blues rank in the salary cap era.
All right, I'll save that one.
Yeah.
Here's a macro.
Save it for a day I'm off.
Here's a macro. Well, but there was more to the question. But here's a macro question.
Okay.
How does one tell was purely social media fueled fodder, and what are important issues in the world of sports? Are there times where it starts as the latter and develops into the former? How has this differed across the years, and is it becoming more and more difficult to tell the difference?
Interesting question. This one piques my interest. So what would be an example that you're thinking of when you pose this wonderful query?
Like, is it a problem that all these players are holding out on contracts in the NFL?
Is that engagement farming?
It can be. Yeah, anytime you're talking about money and athletes, it can get some engagement. It can get some engagement. These rich guys, prima donnas.
Right, yeah. To me, I would call that a populist take. You can never go wrong with putting people's money out there.
Yeah, yeah. But in a vacuum.
And by never go wrong, it's going to get engagement.
Right.
Or you're going to have people rallying because for every one person who makes, whatever, X dollars, there are however many people who make a fraction of that, and they may not be a fan of the fact that that person is making a lot of money. You'll see newspaper outlets, hanging on for dear life, going with this CEO made this and then got this buyout. Well, that's the way that CEOs are compensated.
Yeah, I've also known to avoid headlines that are like, "You'll never guess which golfer did this." It's like, if this was a real headline, you'd put the name of the person in there. It's clickbait, so you have me click to find out.
Yeah,
and then it's deep in the article.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was now that I've gotten your example, now I'm trying to see if I can follow here.
But in a vacuum, that question could be considered fair. Like, is a player like Chris Jones last year for the Chiefs, is a player waiting till after week 1 to get the contract done? Is that a problem? But do you think sometimes it can develop into social media fodder where the conversation is no longer genuine?
Well, absolutely. The answer to the second part is absolutely. That's a certainty.
Yeah.
Social media fodder, I don't know what isn't social media fodder.
Right. Well, that's the part where I'm asking. It's differed over the years. Have you seen where now anything can be turned into a debate on social media that now loses some of its genuine way of going about it? I don't know.
Let me attempt to answer the question by presenting this and see if you see where I'm coming from. If I really wanted to either have a true discussion with somebody on a topic, or if I'm in a disagreement with someone, my standpoint is we either sit down face to face, or if that's not possible because we're in different parts of the country or world, get on, ideally, a Zoom call, FaceTime, so we can see facial reactions. And if that's not possible for no reason, then a phone call.
Right.
If I'm going to argue with somebody on social media, number one, I wouldn't, but just for the sake of the discussion, if that were to happen, I would hope that I'm talking with somebody who I actually know that they're using their real name. Otherwise, I'm automatically at a disadvantage operating on the premise that I'm using mine. And then secondarily, if it's done on social media, it's performative.
Right.
Like, you have an audience. And so it becomes more important to quote unquote win, whatever that gets you, I have no idea, than actually have a conversation to truly understand where that person's coming from, and then try to have a conversation in which you convey to the person who disagrees with you where you're coming from. So if you're just dropping insults on social media, especially anonymous, I mean, for real, I ask, what comes out of that?
Right. Yeah. What is the benefit?
I mean, I'm asking. I'm not asking rhetorically. I really am curious. What is the game? Not to say that you're doing that.
Sure.
I don't know. I mean, is it? You see what I'm saying? If I'm in a disagreement with somebody.
Yeah. Right.
I actually can recall. I mean, this was a while ago, but I believe someone who works in the industry and is, actually credible, I guess was taking a shot. I don't know whether it was me or TMA. And I'm like, man, I thought, we were like why, if you have an issue, like, why wouldn't you,
right,
as opposed to like tweet about it or something? I mean, like, are you, a disenfranchised 50-something, or are you a, 12? What's going on? Like, why wouldn't you just, like, if you have an issue, why wouldn't you talk to me privately?
Right. Well, I think that's
and
the
then
root
it became,
of the issue.
oh no, I wasn't.
There it is. That's the root of the issue, is that if you're really trying to have a discourse about something,
yes, you do it
privately, or like in case of like a show host, you would have someone like, come on and we can discuss it either face to face, phone call, right?
Oh, I'm all for it.
Right. That is where, like, at what point do topics get kind of bastardized in a way where you can no longer, like...
At what point? We're past the point. It is. That's what it is.
Right, but like on individual topics, I guess things pop up and you really never know. What can start as one thing can devolve into another.
But there are a number of things that, from my standpoint, as somebody who has been doing this for a while and has watched the change, and I feel like it's been about a decade to 12 years, that if you said, what is the number one core issue or difference, and not to say that it was great before, I don't want to like romanticize the past,
right,
and like everything needs to go back to Jerry Mathers and Tony Dow talking it over. That's not what I'm saying. But I feel like either broadcasters, podcasters, writers now write for likes and tweet for likable takes, like bait, versus that which they really think, even if it's not popular.
Right.
And if you get into a spot where you have, whether it be an independent owner, a corporation owner, and they actually track that stuff, then you are in a dangerous spot if they care what the quote-unquote engagement is on social media and if it's negative. But to me, the primary responsibility that I have as a host, because there's two different responsibilities. As a host, is to be honest with the audience, even if it's unpopular. And as an employee, is to make sure I'm generating revenue.
Right.
Because if I don't, then it's like I'm a hitter who's at the number 9 spot in the lineup. Right. And so that's about. Fortunately, if you have an audience, and you can be honest, and they, okay, I disagree with him, but at least I know he's not like, BSing me just so you like him, and that's where it is. So this is what I think. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. Hell, I don't know. I mean, this is what I honestly think. It comes from a base of knowledge of living here and growing up here and working here for a quarter of a century. But I feel like now, and this certainly isn't just a St. Louis thing, that it becomes like, ooh, this will be a good tweet.
Right.
And so then it can kind of become based on a narrative that isn't necessarily what's really going on. And then you get to a point, I think, probably as an athlete or as a coach or as a manager of an organization where you go, I'm just going to tune it out because it's going to be negative, and on top of it, it's rooted in stuff that's just not true. Mm-hmm. But if I go on there and say that's not true, then it looks like I'm saying something and he doth protest too much.
Right.
So I don't really know how you win. You truly tune it out.
Yeah.
And I remember coming up like 10, 15 years ago when coaches would say, well, I don't read that stuff. I'd be like, oh, sure you don't.
Right.
But I really now think that most coaches probably, or managers, really don't read it or listen to it because it would drive them up the wall.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the ship has already left the port like a long time ago. So I don't know what's new on that, but maybe I'm missing something from where you're coming from.
Well, something that also just popped in my head is like, do you think when you talk about writing for likes or engagement is short-sighted? Because I remember when we talked about Peter King retiring, and I asked the question, do you think another Peter King can develop? Like, do you think that someone in print or maybe even talk like can be that famous, print specifically? Like, do you think that they could have that kind of household name going forward because of the wave of writing simply for kind of narrative-based engagement, as opposed to maybe writing in a more genuine, unpopular manner?
I would actually answer it would be tough for that to happen because of the style of which his brand was built, which was this column that he would spend 12 hours writing, and then like he'd go to bed at 5 or 6 a.m. Eastern time after writing throughout the night after Sunday and Sunday night football games. And it was incredible detail and reporting. Mm-hmm. I just don't know if that's where things are right now. Right. At the moment, it's takey.
Yeah, right.
You know, but this is not limited to sports. The most exaggerated, outrageous, it doesn't matter if it's informed, statements are the ones that get the attention and usually get the rewards.
Yeah.
So when I see, for example, Stephen A. Smith, and he says something, if he were to say something about St. Louis or the Cardinals, like he said whatever about Missouri football, and who was he working? Was that Harry Douglas?
Harry Douglas and Paul Feinbaum.
And goes, have you ever heard of Brady Cook or Luther Burden? And he, in my opinion, he hadn't.
Right.
But I'm not like, well, he's not doing his job. I'm just like, that's not what his job is, to be a performer.
Right.
It'd be like going to a wrestling event at the Enterprise Center and The Rock playing his heel character insulting St. Louis. I wouldn't go, hold on a second, what's he doing? He's playing a character. But I think the difference is now sometimes those in the public can't recognize that people are playing characters versus actually being genuine with their opinions. And so that which is a carnival atmosphere is being peddled off as the truth. Your thoughts are welcome. 314-399-9646. This is Balloon Party, 101 ESPN. Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, the presenting sponsor. Balloon Party on 101 ESPN. Online at stlouisacura.com or altontoyota.com. And the place that we have been going to get our cars and our family for a long time, and we look forward to doing so for years to come because of the relationships we have developed with great people like Jamie Burkhardt and Peter Munganess and wonderful people in the service department. That's where our cars have been getting repaired from the hail damage storm back Memorial Day weekend. It's stlouisacura.com and altontoyota.com. And then if you are in the market for a new vehicle or a pre-owned vehicle, or you want to get your car into their service department, here is the number you can call or text that they set up specifically for our listeners. And that number is 314-252-0029. 314-252-0029. It's Munganess and it's stlouisacura.com. And it's Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota online at altontoyota.com.
This is Action Jackson with a SportsCenter update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals play today. They beat the Rangers yesterday, 10-1 your final score. They play the Cubs on the north side tonight. 7:05 is the first pitch. Sonny Gray on the mound for your Redbirds. And Team USA defeats South Sudan, their second game of the tournament, 103-86. LeBron James with 23 points. That was another SportsCenter update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Welcome back to Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you. 17 minutes left, Jackson. You better make them count. This is your time.
I'll try my best. Yesterday, Tim, we saw Michael McGreevy, the 24-year-old pitcher, come up for what was kind of supposed to be a spot start, but ended up being a really good outing. What did you think of McGreevy's performance out there? And if you can get something more out of him this year, do you think that could be a valuable piece for next year, bringing him up?
Came out of nowhere. I did not expect that. Thrilled to see it. He had been pitching better as of late. But to get that, wow. I mean, super huge and super exciting. I suppose, well, I don't suppose. I know that I want to see it for, usually around 4 starts.
Yeah, I think that's a good litmus test.
The Cardinal rotation as it stands this weekend is Gray Fetty tomorrow making his Cardinal debut and Gibson Michaelis on the Sunday night game. It currently is not penciled in who is starting against the Mets for the makeup game on Monday. I would imagine it's Palante.
I was going to say, I think that's like a prime Palante start, but maybe they consider going McGreevy. I don't know. I don't know where they would go on that, but it's kind of like, how much do you need to see out of someone like him or even Palante to put them, like pencil them in for the rotation next year, and how does that kind of guide you in the offseason moves? Because if you can get one of those two, now you got Fetty, Michaelis, Gray.
You got to have players you can count on. I mean, I know that. I mean, I feel like that was like the ultimate, white noise thing as it was coming out of my mouth. But the guy had one good start.
No doubt. I'm not trying to make...
What's the line from Usual Suspects? Or is it Reservoir Dogs? Harvey Keitel?
Harvey Keitel was in Reservoir Dogs. You're going to be okay.
No,
you're going to be
not
okay.
The line I was thinking
Let's go get a taco.
Let's not start.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he also said, if you're going to go to the bank and you're going to break someone's fingers, break their thumbs. And then he says, let's go get a taco. That was after his soliloquy on Pam Grier.
Pam Grier, delightful actress. Jackie Brown.
Yes.
1996, 97. Somebody will check on
97.
that. But either way, I want to focus on let's not start.
Yes.
Just yet.
Yeah. No, and I'm not trying to make something more than McGreevy's 7 innings. However, certainly the most promising thing outside Palante you've seen from younger guys coming up to pitch, and we both know desperately, and I think many Cardinal fans are now well aware that if you don't have one younger guy from minor leagues, whether it be Palante or someone else, up for next year, you're going to be in a real spot when it comes to the offseason, who you're going to sign. I mean, it might be Gibson and Lynn right back here. Who knows? But I think seeing that was like the right sign. And the Cardinals are statistically a better second-half team than they are a first-half team over the past 10 years or so. Okay. So if you can ride some of that momentum and get one of these guys right, because I'm telling you, it's easier to pitch when you're up by a bunch of runs than when you're down in your first start, I think it's an encouraging sign. And I don't think anyone would argue with that.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, who wouldn't call a 7-inning appearance for a guy an encouraging sign?
Do you know that was the first Cardinal to make it their debut and get the win since 2002?
Wow.
May 2002.
Really? Hold on a second. Let me see if I can... Oh, man, his Cardinal debut and got the win. Do you know the answer to who it was?
I know. I don't know how to pronounce the last name, so if that gives you...
there's another tell.
Yeah, if that gives
wow.
you... I read this was in Lynn Worthy's breakdown.
It's a good little fun fact. All right, I don't know. Otherwise, I'm going to sit here and just guess for the next 10 minutes.
You're going to have to help me with the last name.
Tell me. I covered that team, so I'll...
the name, and of course, Steele today is not recognizing my sign. Then Jason with an S.
Oh, Simon Tachi?
Yeah, there you go.
I thought his debut was in 2001.
That's what I read this morning. If I'm butchering that,
and how about not knowing how to pronounce Simon Tachi? Wow, unbelievable, disappointing. Wonder if Rocky was offended by that. Wonder if he wants to come in here.
Everyone's saying that quote's from Pulp Fiction.
Is it Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, I guess now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, because it's right after they clean up R.I.P. Marvin.
Boy, do you feel bad about that as the owner of goodorbad.com?
A little bit.
I know you're struggling with you're in your fourth round of funding.
Well, that's the thing is like we're bringing in zero revenue, but we also have zero expenses. So the only place to go is up.
But at some point, the investors want some return.
Right. Well, we're not burning through capital. Our
I understand.
Our burnout
that didn't necessarily address the issue.
Our burnout rate is like in perpetuity. So,
I think you're just saying words now. Now I feel like I'm at a Quinn Snyder press conference. Jason Simontaci. I really thought his debut was in 2001. It's interesting. I mean, hey, if you got it.
I should know these things, but I'm going to bring them up.
It's so weird that I feel like, this is quite a historical reference, that I was flying to the Rams-Eagles opener in Philadelphia with obviously a stop in Cincinnati.
As is the usual case.
Of course, Northern Kentucky to be specific. And it was like a few days before September 11th in 2001. That's what I thought it was, but maybe I've got the starts mixed up. But that certainly was the Simontaci era.
It might have been home start. That could be the case. Might be the home start. But either way, for that to be 20 years, but I'm trying to find, where did I see that?
No, his first year pitching was 2002, and he went 11-5, by the way.
Yeah.
So there you go. I must be thinking of a different pitcher.
I thought
it's a good fun fact.
I thought it was a little, but just to be 22 years since someone got their first start, and
then won it and went that deep. Is that what it was?
Yeah, because you'd have to get a decision. So I think that might be a part of it, because we've seen plenty of guys come up here and maybe only pitch 4 or 5 innings.
I'm just really surprised by that. I'm really surprised by that. What is the stat that he said?
I'm trying to find it to be 100% positive, because I don't want to credit someone with a stat, and I'm butchering it. But I believe the stat was their first pitcher to get a win in their debut start since Simontaci in 2002.
I just can't believe that.
But it might be home.
I still wouldn't be able to believe that. I can't imagine. But I now gotta dig in.
This is usually be my news and notes section, which is, here we go. Okay. McGreevy became the first Cardinals pitcher to get the win in his major league debut at home. So I messed it up a little, since Jason Simontaci in May 2002.
Wow.
As well as the first to pitch 7 innings or more with 1 earned run or fewer in a debut since Michael Wacha in 2013.
But then Wacha didn't get the win, I guess.
That would, that boy, that'd be tough.
That is just an amazing statistic to me. I mean, I don't consider it like an indictment. It's just a really surprising statistic that you got to go back to 2002 to find.
I know. Yeah. But shout out to Unworthy for getting that done.
Yeah, that's really surprising to me. But hey, God bless America. All right, we'll take a break. Final segment coming up. Balloon Party. This is 101 ESPN. Welcome back. Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, Timothy, Michael, McKernan, Jackson, Bennett, Burkett with you on the program. Jackson, 5 minutes. What you want to go with?
I'm going to go with this, Tim. Totally off topic, but what's the topic? So who cares? What do you think is the hardest thing to do in all of the 4 major North American sports? Do you think it's hitting an upper 90s to 100-mile fastball, scoring a penalty in hockey, trying to cover a wide receiver in one-on-one man coverage, taking a charge on a bigger player in the NBA? What do you think would be the hardest of those 4 sports? What do you think the hardest task to do is?
Yeah, I always default to hitting a baseball.
I was thinking the same. I think just trying to get around on a 100-mile-per-hour fastball is going to be the hardest there. I can't imagine anything. Now, I can't skate, so anything hockey-wise is going to be pretty difficult, but maybe if I could, I still think the baseball would be the answer. And then we talked about a fun little stat in the last segment. I got another fun little stat for you, Tim. A fun little piece of note. Are you aware of the new Red Sox catcher Danny Jansen, not our listener Dan Jansen, but Danny Jansen was traded to the Boston Red Sox from the Blue Jays. Now, the Blue Jays and the Red Sox had a game in late June that was rained out. Danny Jansen was playing in that game. He was actually up to bat when they called the game. He now plays for the Red Sox, and the catcher for the Red Sox, who was in that game, has been DFA'd. He's no longer available. So if Jansen is to play in that game, if they pinch hit for him and use him as their catcher, the Blue Jays will have to pinch hit for Jansen's spot for their team. He will become the first Major League Baseball player ever to play for 2 teams in the same game.
That's all right.
Yeah.
It's a good fun fact for no and tell.
To think in, 140 years of baseball that this is the first time something like that will ever happen. Because we've had guys switch clubhouses for like a doubleheader, but never happened before playing in the same game. And I find that to be very interesting.
There it is. Jackson with fun facts here on the program. You are welcome to participate in the discussion, as many have chosen to do. The hardest is to swim 1,500 meters. That's from the 314. Let's see what we got here. Mike Myers, Jackson, people are saying he won a game before Jason Simon-Tachi.
I saw someone sent an image from Jeff Jones tweeting about Michael McGreevy will become the first Cardinal pitcher to make his MLB debut in a start at home since Mike Myers on July 24th, 2016. I'm not positive if Mike Myers got that win in that game.
Got it.
Because I think that's the key, and it's home. So I messed up the stat originally. This is my fault again. I'll be saying it's a W next weekend.
And you are saying it the W next weekend, and your parents are
that's right. They're
bankrolling it.
Yeah, footing the bill is what I like to call it. And so I made the mistakes. Apologies to Lynn Worthy and the Cardinal organization in general.
Wow, you've apologized to the entire organization for that.
Yeah, well, remember, media rights holder still
that's right,
trying to get that done.
All right, let's wrap it up. BK and Ferrario are coming up next. For Jackson, Bennett, Burkett, I'm Tim McKernan. This has been Balloon Party on 101 ESPN.